Hi guys, the Angry Critic here, and welcome to my review of the Terminator. This movie is amazing. The first two movies of the franchise. What I have to say about this? It's amazing. Arnold Schwarzenegger as this robotic, emotionless killing machine. It's just, what else can I say about it? This movie, the opening, it just sucks you in so much out of curiosity. The way how it opens in the future of 2029 of a destroyed, ruined type Los Angeles. That, I'm like, what the hell is this, Star Wars? When I first saw this movie, when my dad showed me this movie, when I was in the 4th grade of elementary school, I just loved it. Like, I thought it was going to be some dumb slasher movie of a guy just going around killing people, but he's a cyborg. But no, I liked it a hell of a lot more than I thought, and I just love this movie. And just the effects. Okay, some of the effects are not very. Some are pretty good, some are not. It's kind of a mixed bag. It was back in the 1980s. Back then, the budget was like $6 million, so I can't exactly blame them for that. But James Cameron did a fantastic job directing the first two movies. I'm going to be mostly reviewing the first movie, the 1984 Terminator movie. And what else really had to say about it? It's great. This fantastic movie. So, this is going to be a lot of spoilers, so if you don't want me to spoil the original classic, stop watching this video right now, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So, this movie, it's about a girl named Sarah Carnell. She's a waitress, and she just has a everyday normal life. She just is some waitress at some average burger restaurant. She just wants to party, and she's just a typical 1980s girl, just young 20-year-old girl, and nothing really interesting about her yet. But until when a Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's him, is sent back to 1984 from 2029 to kill her because her son is going to be a leader of the leader of a resistance team fighting against a army of machines that is named Skynet, will eventually take over the world, will start a nuclear war, sending missiles all over the planet, killing everyone, billions of lives. Eventually, so it's about 1800 being sent back from time, 2029, and a resistance fighter named Reese, who's also from the future. The 1800 is So they're looking for this girl named Sarah Carnell, who the T-800 is sent to kill, and the resistance fighter Reese is sent to protect from the Terminator. Oh, and like in 5 minutes when the Terminator arrives, he already kills someone. He runs into a few punk guys, and he demands one of them to give him his clothes because they're both going naked because when they time travel, because you can't travel through time with clothes or anything metal, so you have to go naked. But he tells him to give him his clothes, and the punk's like, "Fuck you, asshole." They pull out the pocket knives, and well, the T-800, he just grabs one of them and whips his heart out. Some gory stuff in this movie. Eventually, one of them gives him his clothes, and well, eventually goes off for his mission to kill Sarah Carnell, and the original cheat in Kyle Reese. Well, we see him get teleported through an alleyway of Los Angeles. Los Angeles looks pretty dirty in this movie, because I know that Los Angeles is not a very clean place in real life, but we see Kyle Reese gets teleported in the alleyway. He runs into a hobo and he takes his pants, and he runs into the police and they see what he's doing and they go chasing after him to arrest him, and Reese is running through the alley, running away from the cops, and well, eventually he runs into one of the cops and takes his gun and demands him the dates and year what he's in, and he goes into a clothing shop. It takes place at night, so the place is already closed, and he takes a jacket, a shirt, and some shoes, and takes one of the police cruisers and takes a shotgun. So the first act of the movie, they go looking for Sarah Carnell. They go after the phone books in the T-800, and they both discover that there are 3 different Sarah Carnells at Los Angeles. So the T-800, so he kills the first 2 of them, because he doesn't know which Sarah Carnell is the real one that gives birth to John Carnell. So he kills the first 2, and at first, when she's at work, hears the news of a girl named Sarah Carnell gets killed, but she doesn't think any of it yet. But the police, this hits the media coverage, because when a second Sarah Carnell gets killed at the same day, this creates a panic in the police station, and they try to contact the last Sarah Carnell, but no luck, and Sarah, she's at a restaurant at Leo when she's done for work and goes off to. We get shown how her life is like. We get introduced to her roommate Ginger and her boyfriend Matt, and she eventually decides to catch a movie of herself when her date was cancelled, and she discovers on the news that a Terminator, a second Sarah Carnell is killed at the same day. She panics, thinking she could be next, so she goes to some nightclub place, and this movie has a lot of flashing lights all over the place. This nightclub place has a lot of flashing lights. It's crazy, but she calls the police department, and she says that she believes someone is after her, because she's discovered the first 2 Sarah Carnells have been killed, and so the T-800 now has 1 left, goes to her apartment and kills her roommate and her boyfriend, and he seems to think he got that her roommate was Sarah, but then here's a voice message that Sarah gave of her apartment, warning them about a possible stalker trying to kill her, because and he hears this and the Terminator goes through her stuff and sees her face on an ID and discovers a phone book that was hers, and he realizes she's at a nightclub, so he goes after her, and she discovers another guy is following her, which is kind of Reese, because we see him following her around town, and she thinks he is after her and trying to kill her, and he is at night, and she sees her at the nightclub, and she eventually calls the police, and the police says we'll pick you up, stay here wherever you are, you will be safe in a public place, which she's not, because it's a Terminator she's dealing with, but they of course don't know that. And, well, the teen hunter gets into the nightclub, and he eventually finds her, and he pulls, right before he kills he eventually breaks into a gun shop and kills the gun shop owner and steals all the guns. So he has like a gun with a plasma rifle, laser pointer, which was pretty cool. And he points it out. He walks up to her, realizes it's her. He pulls out his gun, points it at her. He's about to pull the trigger to Reese, pulls out his shotgun, and starts shooting up the Terminator, saving Sarah. And Sarah tries to run, but the Terminator pulls out a rifle and shoots down one of the ladies that was blocking her way. And he gets to do a shootout with Reese, and eventually tries to kill Sarah again, but Reese comes out and shoots him up again, falling down the nightclub's window, and Reese goes to her and says, "Come with me if you want to live," which is pretty bad slide. So the Terminator, he gets up, and the two of them run, and they're running through the alleyway to a car we stole, and Reese like shoots up another car that the Terminator was at and blows up with the Terminator in it. And then they like driving away, backing up, and the Terminator comes out of the fire. His eyebrows burned, some chunk of his hair is burned as well. He punches through the windshield, tries to grab Sarah, tries to strangle her, but eventually Reese is able to make a U-turn on the car, get him off the windshield, and a cop sees this, and the Terminator knocks the cop out, takes his cop cruiser, and goes after them, and Reese explains to her who is he, and says, "I'm here to help you, you've been targeted for termination." He explains to her that from the future, him, and says that's not a man, that's a Terminator. Explains, well, Sarah, of course, doesn't believe this. She thinks he's nuts, and, well, but he was able to convince her that he is not crazy. Explains to her about the world coming to the end, and about how everything you take for granted is gone, and how civilization is no more. And he tells her about about Skynet, and how eventually it will take over the world and see humans as a threat. And we see flashbacks of Reese in the future, and that's some of the best settings ever. Like, it looks like you see in a Star Wars movie or Alien movie. It's that cool. The machines, like there's a flashback where Reese and some other kid is fighting a big machine, just blowing up. A lot of action. This movie has amazing action. This movie costs like $6 million. It feels like it costs a lot more than that. It's that great. I'm starting to wonder if it really was $6 million. But eventually, he explains about a man named John Carnell, his future son, who eventually leads resistance to victory, and how he formed the resistance to begin with. And, well, eventually the Terminator finds them and begins to chase after them, and they get into another shootout, another cool car chase scene, and, well, they go into a corner and forced to stop when a bunch of cops go in, and the Terminator crashes and he escapes. And, well, Reese and Sarah are arrested, and Sarah is informed of her roommate and her boyfriend being shot to death, and Reese is taken to interrogation, and he's been met by a guy named Dr. Silverman, a psychiatrist, and he he explains to him that he's from the future and that Skynet takes over the world, and the reason why the Terminator is trying to kill Sarah is because her son, John Connor, will eventually lead the victory of the resistance. But Silverman thinks, the cops don't believe this, thinking he's crazy, there's no proof. And just tells Sarah that he was likely wearing a bulletproof vest to Terminator, and that because she saw him shoot him with a shotgun multiple times and didn't kill him, so they eventually explained to her that how he survived all that, and she's like, okay. And well, she decides to stay in the police station for the night to wait for her mom to pick her up. And well, we see the Terminator sneak into some apartment place, and his eyes are bloody, swollen, gosh, his arms are busted up. He fixes himself, he tears some skin off, trying to rearrange his mental arm, trying to straighten out, and he cuts up his human eye, and he wipes up with a towel, and we see his with robot eye. Okay, this scene didn't have a very good. They used a dummy when he was coming up his eye, and it didn't look very good. It looked like crap nowadays. Not the best practical effects, because this film, it can have some pretty good effects, but at times can look a little cheesy, and that was one of them. But it was still very creepy watching him tear up his eye and see his red eye, foreshadowing what we see him later, where we see a glimpse of him, of his metal skeleton part. Eventually he decides to put on some sunglasses on to cover himself up, so no one will see his red eye. And then he pulls out the big guns. He puts on a leather jacket, so he looks very different, because he had a more gray jacket, and well, he now has a leather jacket, and he has a bunch of guns now. He's going to storm through the police station to kill Sarah. And well, eventually Dr. Silverman leaves, and the Terminator at the time arrives. And he says he's here to pick up Sarah Connell. No, he's here to see Sarah, that he's a friend of hers. And the police lobby guy said you cannot see her, she's making a statement. So he tells him to sit on the bench and wait so when it's time so he can see her. Instead of that, he says, "I'll be back," and leaves, and comes back and runs over the fucking place. He kills the cop. This is the best scene in the movie, by far. He goes to the police station. He just shoots up every single cop in sight. Dead. He's dead. Holy shit. He killed 20 cops in 5 minutes. Every cop gets killed. I want all the cops to point out the big machine guns. He's literally a one-man's army. No matter what, no one can stop this guy. This guy keeps going and going, and he's getting shot up. To shoot him up. It's getting shot up multiple times. He keeps going. The Terminator, this was a crazy scene. Sarah, she heard all the gunfire, realizing he's back, and she hides under a table, a desk, and Kyle escapes from the interrogation room. He knocks out a cop and steals his gun, and he uncuffs himself, and he eventually finds Sarah, and he takes her out of the police station, and they escape. And right when the Terminator finds them, he runs out of bullets, and they're already gone. So he practically massacred the entire fucking police station for nothing. This was badass to watch. This is a great scene. The whole place just goes in flames. It was great. It just shows us how ruthless the Terminator is. That's what I love about this movie. I perform as the bad guy from than he was in the second movie, but the way how he acts, he really does act like a robot. He acts like he just is shown no matter what he does, he's always breaking the law, go around killing people. He does not kill all. All he cares about is what his program is telling him to do. To kill Sarah Connor. All he is, anyone could burn hell for all he cares. He practically acts like how a ruthless killing machine should act like. And I just love it. He really nailed that performance. And thank God it was not O.J. Simpson that got the part, because if he did, that would have been a tragedy, because if you people didn't know, it was going to be O.J. Simpson that was going to play the Terminator. Well, he was one of the biggest picks before they went to Arnold. And thank God they didn't. And the reason why they decided not to go with O.J. Simpson is because James Cameron thought he wouldn't have been a good choice for the role, because he thought he was too nice and goofy at the time. This was, of course, before his ex-wife was killed, that he murdered his ex-wife, so that's pretty ironic. So, quick anyway, there, sorry folks. But yeah. Sarah and Reese, they leave the city. They, go spend the night on the woods on some place, and they get to know each other more, and he explains to her that she goes into hiding, and that she trains her son to be a soldier, and he volunteered to protect her to meet the legend, and Sarah has any idea what he's talking about, since she didn't do those things yet. But eventually they go to a motel place, and they hide and for the night, so to spend the night. And well, Reese goes off to a store to make pipe bombs and make weapons for themselves, and while that, Sarah calls her mom, and she tells her that she is in hiding and that she can't tell anything yet, but she gives her the location of the motel, and it's revealed that it's not her mother she's talking to, it's the T-800 lip-syncing her mother's voice. It's revealed that he went into a cabin place and killed her, I guess, and because he found her through Sarah's phone book he got for her apartment. To that, I did not see one coming. I was completely caught off by that. So now the Terminator is now going after them, now knowing where they are. Reese comes back with the supplies, and they make pipe bombs, and eventually they talk more, and Reese said that John gave her a picture of her that around the same age she's in right now, and that he fell in love with her looking at her in that picture, and that it's explained through a flashback that he had a picture of her, and that he went to his base from this guy's where they're hiding in the slums. He had a crew himself, and we used to see more glimpses just how awful, how horrible the world Reese lived in, and it's revealed that he never was even born before the apocalypse. He was born after, so Reese never got to experience what the world was like before. And this movie just has a bleak view of humanity. It's just this does. It shows how sick and depressed the people are. It's just really sad to watch. Just how they're living, and just I cannot see anyone who would want to live like that. There are children and just people that are sick to do anything. And then like a Terminator breaks in and he kills everyone and he blows up the whole place, and Reese survives this, but his picture gets burnt of Sarah. He says that he volunteered was because he loves her and that he always have, and the two of them begin to make out and have sex. Which is a really touching scene. I do like this movie could be considered a romance as well. And this movie is kind of why makes this movie special for me. It's not just horror and action or slasher. It's kind of considered a romance too. It's all like mixed together in a blender, and I really like how they did that. It really works in a way. And I just like this type of movies. I think it's one of the few movies that able to get all that, blend all that together, and kind of form his own identity. I do like the romance between Reese and Sarah. I can see some chemistry, them hiding from the Terminator, him protecting her. My parents did though skip that scene for me because I was a kid back then. But I'm 20 years old right now, so I don't mind that scene. So eventually the Terminator goes into the motel. He finds the room, and Reese and Sarah, they held because there's a guard dog on the motel because in the future they use dogs to detect Terminators, and they heard the dog barking. They realize he's there. They steal a guy's truck. Oh, by the way, here's the thing. There's a whole theme in the franchise. No matter what they go, whether it's Sarah or John, people get killed. No matter what they're going, no matter where they go, people get killed. If you see Sarah and John or Reese or the T-800, get the fuck out of the way, because they're gonna fuck everything up for you. Really? I mean, they're terrible people when you think about it. Like, the reason why that entire police station was massacred was because of her. It's not her fault, of course. She didn't directly kill them, but still, you just see the irony here with that. Just wow. So this dude's truck, and he wasn't killed, thank God, but the Terminator hits pursuits and he chases after them, and we get another cool car chase scene. The Terminator is firing at them multiple times, and Reese is throwing pipe bombs to trade places. Reese is throwing pipe bombs at the Terminator, but he keeps dodging them. They go through a tunnel place, which is pretty cool. And Reese, I think, gets shot on the chest or the shoulder, and the Terminator catches up to them, and Sarah is able to win him over, like outsmart him, able to bump at each other, and the Terminator falls over his motorcycle, and Sarah and Reese fall in the truck upside down, and the Terminator gets run over by a truck. His sunglasses are gone, so we can see his one eye. This was pretty funny to watch. And so he gets run over and by this big truck, and the trucker guy is like, what the hell is that? He goes to investigate, and I guess the Terminator kills him. May have knocked him out, who knows. He gets into the truck, and the trucker guy sees this, like, what the hell? And he faces him with his red eye showing, all this metal stuff come out of his skin, and he says, "Get out." He's like, okay, and he gets out, and he hijacks the truck, and he chases after them, and Reese and Sarah able to get out the truck, and Reese is limping because he's been shot, and Sarah has to hang on to him while they run away from the Terminator. Reese, stays behind, tells Sarah to keep going. He stops at a dumpster place and lights up another pipe bomb, and he puts it in the truck's muffler pole. It's like a pole on the back of the truck with a hole in it, and he puts it in, and he hides in the dumpster, and the T-800 doesn't see this, so... And, like, he's chasing after Sarah, trying to one-hole over, and the pipe bomb goes off, and the whole truck explodes. Like, I think the truck had gasoline or flammable stuff in the tank, because it has a tank behind, so... The whole thing goes in flames, and the whole dumpster lights on fire with Reese and everybody in the garage, and Sarah hides behind a building, and she absorbs the Terminator getting out of the truck. He's in flames. He like goes on the ground, and all his skin and his bones just melting, and Sarah looks out relieved, thinking the Terminator is dead. And Reese and Sarah embrace each other and Sarah says, "We did it, Kyle. We got it." And then the Terminator comes out of the debris, and his entire endoskeleton is exposed. This was creepy. This scared the shit out of me. And they use an actual machine model, I believe, on close-up. It didn't have legs in real life, but there's a whole crew staff that's controlling it. It's in the behind-the-scenes footage in one of the features of this. I got the special edition, and it has this. Special features explain how they made the movie, and it was pretty cool to watch. And they went away from this thing, and this is how James Cameron got his idea of the Terminator. Having a dream where him, I think a girlfriend of his, being chased by an endoskeleton robot that looked human. I think that's how he got his idea from, and that was like the iconic scene of the both of this movie. And in that dream, we made James Cameron's career, because he didn't do anything yet. Like, this was his real big movie. He did like other stuff, like this. He was a producer or director from the other movie that wasn't really good. I think it was a sequel or something, and it was very cheap. But this was his official first movie, and I don't think he was a big director at the time. This was like a little idea he decided to try out, and I guess that's why the movie was very cheap, because he wasn't really that big of a director yet. But when this movie came out, it was just a huge hit. He really got... James Cameron really went to the radar of Hollywood. But so, Reese and Sarah, they're running away from this thing. They go to some factory place, and they're running from place to place. The Terminator just keeps going, despite his entire endoskeleton exposed. They use like stop motion, and when we see it chasing after him with his legs, and okay, the stop motion look kind of cheap nowadays, but it manages to still look very creepy at the same time. But they lock themselves in a control room, and Reese activates all the machines that the room has, and to track them, so it won't track them for cover, I guess. And they lock themselves from a big door, and the Terminator like smashes up one by one. He gets in, and Reese is like limping. He passes out, and Sarah like try to force him up to get up, saying, "On your feet, soldier." And they're like running from place to place, trying to get away from this thing. And the Terminator is looking around and doesn't see them, and is about to leave when he sees all the machines surrounding him. And I guess assumes they're not there until Sarah pushes a button that causes like a big flat machine go down, and I don't know what it's called, but it breaks their cover, and eventually finds them, and they go up, they're backing away from the stairs, and Terminator is just walking towards them, creepily. Reese tells Sarah to run, and Reese starts to beat the Terminator with a pole he has, but tries to like rip his head open, but he eventually fails and he loses the pole, and the Terminator just punches him, like slaps him right in the face. And Reese's face is all bloody, it's all bruised up, and the Terminator walks towards him and he fires up one more pipe, puts it in the Terminator's rib cage, and he rolls down the stairs to get away from it, and the Terminator tries to grab the pipe bomb, but it's too late. It goes off, blowing up the Terminator. And Sarah gets caught in the explosion. She falls down while crying down up a ladder, and she wakes up and there's this giant metal piece sticking on her leg, and she has to pull it out. And she goes to Reese, and he's dead. His neck, I think, is broken, and the explosion killed, and his eyes all open, and she realizes he's dead. She has to crawl towards him, and the Terminator's body's next to it. And when it looks like the Terminator is now dead, it gets back up and chases after her. It keeps going. His legs are missing. It only has one arm left. The thing just keeps trying to kill her. No matter what, this thing will not stop. Like how Reese said, it cannot be bargained with. It cannot be reasoned with. It does not feel pity, remorse, or fear. It's never gonna stop until you're dead. And the crawling, she's crawling away from this thing. The Terminator's crawling after her. They're both limp, they're both crippled, because Sarah's leg is all busted up, so she can't get up and walk. And she eventually gets into the area where she activates that flattener. And she puts like a cage over behind herself from the Terminator, and the Terminator sticks on out, grabs her neck, trying to choke her, and she goes for a button, and the button's behind her, and she says, "You're Terminator, fucker." Pushes the button, and the flat machine flattens the Terminator, crushing him, officially killing it. And with the lightning strike over, pretty cool effects, and Sarah just stares at it getting destroyed, and we see the Terminator's eyes, with the glowing eyes just going off. Finally dies. And, well, his arm is still intact, but it's now gone. It's now dead now. The Terminator is now terminated. Given a taste of his own medicine, the ambulance come in, and she's taken to the hospital, and Reese's body is being taken away. And we cut to a time jump a year later of Sarah driving through the desert on a Jeep, now pregnant. She has a dog now that could detect Terminators against the her, and she's making tapes for her son John when he grows up, and for her to listen to these tapes. She's now learning how to speak Spanish now, and she goes to some gas station, and she meets like a Spanish guy who speaks English, and she meets his son who's taking pictures, and she takes a picture of her, and tries to hassle her, saying that his father's gonna beat him if he doesn't get money for her, and she knows it's just a hassle. And like his father is like translating what he's saying, and the son gives her the picture he's taken of her, and it's revealed it's the same picture that John gives to Reese from the future. And it's revealed that Reese is actually John's father, revealing that this was always destined to happen. He was always meant to send Reese to the past, to protect his mom. So that's a huge twist right there, like, whoa. Like, he was revealed to be his son, the whole time, his father the whole time, Reese was. And that's a big twist I did not see coming. And, well, she tells for the video through her microphone about his father Reese asking will it affect his decision to send him back in time, knowing that Reese is his father. But he says, I guess I'll tell you, I own that. And then the Spanish son says something and to his father and asks the father what he's saying, and the father says, there's a storm coming, and he says, I know. She puts on the sunglasses on and drives away to the storm. And that's how the movie ends. But yeah, pretty good twist right there. Pretty, very sad, depressing ending, revealing that this was destined to happen. That Reese and the Terminator were always meant to send back in time. And that's a pretty good twist the movie did. The characters, I love the characters. The T-800 is an awesome villain. And Kyle Reese is a likable character. He's a pretty badass guy. And I like how protective he is of Sarah and how unhinged he really is. And Sarah going from the danger of distress to this badass warrior in the second film. Because she was forced to. Because she discovered she was always destined to be for the Terminator to try to kill her. In that, and I liked some of the characters from the police station. I did like the cop guy. I did like LG Traxler and Detective Vukovic. Dr. Silverman. I know a lot of people hate him, but he's an okay character. Like, I don't get why people hate him so much, because people say Silverman just cares about his career and that he wanted to use Sarah and Reese to advance his career, but that's very unlikely. I don't think that was really the case. But yeah, this was a great movie. This 9 out of 10. I'll give it 10 out of 10, but some of the cheesy effects and really hasn't aged well, and that's why I'm not gonna go like 10 out of 10. Maybe 9.5 out of 10. It's that great movie. This is a must-watch movie. Like, this is the type of movie you have to watch on theaters. And that this is not like a movie that you just watch and not bother again. This is a movie I find myself watching over and over. I watch this movie like 3 times a year at least. It's that great. Same with T2. The sequels after that, T3 was okay. Salvation could be great, but it had ideas that didn't work, and that movie was kind of bad. Genesis and Dark Fate. Fuck those movies. Those movies were terrible. I just stick with the first two. This movie. What do I prefer? The sequel or this movie? I prefer the original. The sequel is always great, but I always prefer Arnold Schwarzenegger as the bad guy. I know a lot of people love him as the good guy in T2, but personally, I prefer him as the bad guy in this movie. Another cut edit right there, sorry folks, but yeah. This is really the only time that we see Arnold play a bad guy in this movie. T3 doesn't really count. Dark Fate, Genesis, don't really count. Salvation, neither. But I actually like him playing as the bad guy in the first Terminator movie than playing the good guy, because I'm sick of him playing the good guy. Because him as the T-800, I really like him as the villain of this movie. I think I would have been fine if he was the villain again in T2, but people want him to be a good guy, and it kind of worked, but I always perform as the villain of this movie. And Michael Biehn did a great job playing Kyle Reese, acting like this unhinged, wide-eyed, really short-tempo guy who grew up in the apocalypse and just had to pull up with the shit and just eating rats for dinner and making pipe bombs as a kid and just... It's just... He's a tragic character at best. You just feel bad. I felt so sad when he died at the end of the first movie. I want him to... I rooted for him the most in this movie. I want him to make it out alive at the end of this movie. But he didn't. And that was pretty sad to watch. And Sarah was also a great character too in this movie. She went from the damsel to distress to slowly kind of getting stronger at the end. Ironically is the one that kills the Terminator. It was by dumb luck, but she is able to... But I guess it makes sense for her to kill the Terminator than Reese did. And her big revelation that Reese is John's father is a never good choice, and that John may have sent Reese on purpose because he knew he was his father, maybe. So, yeah. Yeah, I really like the characters. I really like the cops guy, LT Traxler and Detective Vukovic, and I thought they were decent side characters, and I did like the black guy, I think Traxler, I think his name was. It was pretty sad for him to get killed. Yeah, I think they're gonna bring him back in T3, but he was crippled in his wheelchair, but they probably couldn't. He didn't want to go back, I guess, but yeah, this is a great movie. You guys got to... Never characters. I also forgot to mention Matt and Ginger. They're okay. They're kind of just characters as well for the most part, but yeah, this was a great movie, folks. This is a must-watch movie. You need to watch this, guys. Do yourself a favor. Watch it. Same case with... Same case with T2, Judgment Day. I'm not going to review that movie soon. I'm going to review the chance I get, but right now I'm not going to review it now. This movie though, this will always be the best movie in the franchise in my opinion, along with T2. This movie, just absolutely fucking love this movie. And if you're living under a rock and haven't watched any of these movies yet, watch them. These two gems will always be the best in the franchise. And just stick with the first two, maybe with T3 if you want the few people like me that did like it. Then I guess watch that, but Salvation, Genesis, Dark Fate, Salvation could be a guilty pleasure for me. Just ignore Genesis and Dark Fate. Fuck those movies. Stick with the first two at least. And if you really love the first two, I guess give T3 and Salvation a watch, even though those other two are not that great. Or Salvation at least, but wasn't very good. I give T3 a pass, but this movie, if you love Arnold Schwarzenegger, honestly, I don't really recognize Arnold Schwarzenegger for anything else. Honestly, I only remember him as the movies in the Terminator franchise. I did saw him in Kindergarten Cop, which was a decent flick, and there's a movie called Junior I heard about, which she gets pregnant, which, it's terrible. Just, if you're big, I know there's in a lot of other stuff, but but the Terminator movies are the only ones I really watched. And these, if you're a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger and time travel movies in general, watch these movies. Absolutely, do yourself a favor, watch the first two, and you see what I mean. do examples what you should do with a first movie, and what in T2 is an example of what you should do in a sequel. So I give Terminator 9.5 out of 10. Great characters, some cheesy effects, some great action though. So I hope you guys like this video. Give out comments to me what you think about this movie. Don't subscribe my channel to The Angry Critic. And thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, happy Thanksgiving. Even though it was a few days after Thanksgiving. But hey, hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving though. Have some good turkey and eggnog. Bye.